Yeah, yeah. So I just stuck the game, and I already noticed they haven't added the RPMs in yet. So there's no RPMs going to your wheel. So I haven't noticed a lot of change really in it. It still seems like the pretty thing. I just want to do something here. Make sure that my stream's going. Yeah. Now, share it. I want to share it to that guy. Yeah. Where, where, me. All right, there you go. All right. So here we go. I guess let's just do this. Return to the garage.
We're
Uh,
dialed in.
oh, you know what? I can't.
Get a good feel for the car and see if we can hit our goal out there.
All right. So I looked at the thing, Jay. I think 5560 here is still pretty much the same. Uh, Force feedback 75, but that's for me. Okay. If you're like probably on an RS50, Logitech, yeah, I'm on a Logitech G Pro. I got mine, my base at max, okay, which is 11 Newton meters. Okay, so I put it at about 75. And that seems pretty good. I'm not exactly sure what this leveling means, right? I'm gonna have to do some laps and see if it makes any difference. I can't remember, right? I'm pretty sure you don't want centering spring on, right? I'm not sure what impact boost is, force feedback impact boost, but it might be when you hit the walls, right? Like how much it pulls. I hit the walls now and it pulls a lot, so I don't see you want to increase that if that's what that's for. I would just, if anything, lower it. And then we go to advanced controls. Okay, speed sensitive. Okay, what I think this one is okay is it's not the strength. Okay, it's the movement in the wheel. Okay, so what I think it would do. So if you were to actually increase this, what I think it would do is it would so I think you would have to turn the wheel more if you increase it or something. But it's speed sensitive. So what I think is if you turn this up like here, you're really gonna have to turn the wheel a lot on the start corners and not so much on the high speed corners. Okay, I think right. It seems okay here, right? Like yeah, I've seen a guy take this and run it like this. Okay, and it feels okay, but it kind of deadens it, right? It doesn't give you a lot of variation in the force feedback. Right? So, I haven't been on the game for a while, but I don't really like this game. Okay, honestly, like I'm also not American. Okay, so NASCAR is not a big deal for me. I remember I used to race it a lot when the EA made it, but that was a long time ago. So like all these are going to be zero. Okay, Right? I don't think you want to change those because that would be just stupid, right? I gave explanations on it before. Right? Dead zone is braking. For braking, okay, dead zone you might want to do something with. If you rest your foot on the brake, right? You might want to throw that up a bit so it doesn't register, right? You get what I mean? So if you're resting your foot on the brake a little bit, you were gonna increase that until it doesn't register. You know what I mean? So that when you rest it on there, you're not actually braking the car, right? But I'm pretty good. I don't rest my foot on the brake and apply pressure, so I don't really need that, right? Like all this is gonna be a zero, right? I've seen one guy run all three of these, right? But these three are the three that you really want to tailor to yourself, right? Uh, I've seen him run this way down, but it kind of makes the feedback, more consistent. It doesn't really change, a lot, right? If you go up on it, right, it's going to get stiffer in the high speed corners, but it's going to get easier to turn in the low speed turners, right? Which is probably going to be what you want on a road course. But maybe on an oval, you might want to actually lower this. I don't know. It's up to you what you like, right? But let's just. Anyways, here's what I got right now. I just to show you, okay? And I got my base at full 11 newtons. I got my TF audio. This doesn't have TF audio. This game for some reason, which is a cool function. It'd probably work really nice in this game. Force feedback filter on my bass is 8. My damper is, I'm gonna go with 20, right? And that might help stiffen it up a little bit on this straight because it's fairly light, right? And then my angle, okay? And this is important you listen to this, okay? Because if you don't remember to do this every time you go into the game, because your base is going to automatically reset it every time you leave the game and come back in on your wheelbase. It's going to set it to 450. I suggest you take the angle, and depending on the size of your wheel, the bigger the wheel, the lower the angle you can go. Okay. So I got a RS with the hub wheel, okay, from Logitech. It's not that big of a round wheel. So I set mine at about 360 to 340, the angle, right, which is your turning, right, your turning degrees, all right, and it's default at 450, all right. So remember, to set it every time you go into the game, like you start up the game for the first time and you're in, make sure you open up your base and set your angle because it'll every time it'll try to it'll bring it back to default, which is 450, right? And it doesn't stay. When I leave the game, when just because I set my base at 360 now, when I leave the game and come back in, it'll be back at 450. So you have to reset that every time, and it's a pretty important thing because it actually stiffens up the wheel a little bit on the straights and stuff. Okay, and yeah, it definitely is good for feel. Right now, overdrive, that's just like torque. This one here, I really don't know. Okay, I'm gonna put it at 100 right now. Right, I think the feedback is fine, but like say if you're on a lower powered wheel, like the RS50, you might want to go up to 85 or so. Right, just keep in mind to pay attention for clipping. You know what I mean? If you start get clipping, then lower this down. Right. But on the RS50, that's only an 8 Newton meter, so you might want to raise this up a click or two, and maybe even raise that up a click or two, right? But this is like your torque, Okay, that's the torque you feel in the wheel, right? But don't get crazy. I know people love feedback and everything, right? But especially on oval tracks, make sure you set it up for a race so that you can make it through the race. Because you set it too high, you're gonna be fighting your wheel. You're gonna be dead by the end of it, right? But anyways, okay, that's what I got so far, and it's relatively, I think, the same as what I had before. Okay, and I'm just gonna go around and kind of test it, right? Set those ones to 100. I think is the best, right? I'm not exactly sure, right? Affects the consistency of braking power applied. So, but it doesn't tell me if I raise it, if it's more consistent or, you know what I mean? But I think this used to be at 50, but I think it should be at 100, right? I don't have braking smoothing on either, right? So don't use that. But like I said, these non-linears, other than your brake, where you might want to use some dead zone. Before in the game, when they had that problem with the AIs beating you off the line, I remember you had to set this one up at 100, but I think they fixed that. Okay, so I would probably put that at 0 again because that's going to give you a more accurate throttle. Okay, but yeah, that one there you might want to do if you wreck your thing. But I'm gonna just test out right now, right? So I can kind of
Careful when you merge in now.
explain what I feel. This is Phoenix, right? Which is kind of a flat track. Doesn't have a. I'm just using a default setup, so I don't play this game. So, but people really like that video that I made of the settings because it really helped them out. And I can remember when this game first came out, it was horrible to try to figure out the wheel setting for it. It was just nasty. Alright? But to me, they really haven't changed anything.
Amazing lap, driver.
Okay? But
Solid lap. You can call it here or stay out. Up to you.
I think I'm using a default 25% tight setup on this track because it's so loose coming out of the corners. Right? But like I said, I'm just using default setups, right? I know there's some good setups, but
One low. Clear low.
I don't know what that was, but return to garage. Oh no, I don't want to do
Fantastic work
that.
out
Okay,
there.
because then I can't go into this. Okay, resume practice there.
Don't hold back now, driver.
Yeah, okay. All right, so if I drop this down, okay, what's gonna happen? Okay, because these ones should be like a preference type thing. Okay, this is like having the computer kind of help your smoothing out the steering, right? You know, making it a little more consistent and smooth feeling, right? Not so bumpy and kind of it's kind of like a damper, right? Like your damper that you use on your bass, right? I want to feel smooth, I personally like, but this game is kind of I don't know I don't really like it that much. Right? I think there's a lot of functions they're not putting in this game, and I don't think this is how a next gen NASCAR would feel. Maybe a 1980s or 90s NASCAR, but not the newer ones, right? Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna knock that down to a zero, okay, and just kind of see, right? Because what it is gonna do, I think it's gonna by dropping it down to zero on the track like
Stay
this,
on your blend line here.
it's probably gonna lower the feedback a little bit, all right, but it's gonna make the feedback more consistent. You know, it's not gonna change fields and stuff like that, which might be okay for a oval track, but I don't think you want it for
Pulling up high.
a road
Clear all
course,
around. Clear up top. Clear outside.
right? Because it won't differentiate the force. So you'll have the same amount of force in a hairpin as you do on a big
That was your
high
best lap,
speed
yeah.
corner, right? Which I don't think
Everything
you
looks good.
want.
Your choice to stay out or come in.
But but so like me personally, I like this up probably around 80, right? Because I want to feel a differentiate from a high speed to a low speed corner, right? But I'll tell you right now, there's a guy, and he's pretty good at this game. I have noticed, right? And he's pretty good at it. Okay, I don't know what kind of wheel he uses, but what he does is he takes these three and he puts them to zero, all of them. Okay, and I think what that does for most people, what it would do for most people, it makes it easier. But I think on a road course, it might not be so nice that speed sensitive one. Okay, I think on a road course you might want to raise that foot, but like that, it still feels. Oh shit! My wheel just shot out of my hand when I pressed thing. But for me, this one just kind of stalls it out a bit. So there's not a lot of pulling or thing. It kind of it doesn't give you like a lot of different feels and stuff, which you know you might want, I guess, in
Inside.
NASCAR. But
Clear
for
inside.
me, who I like road courses, driving and GT and Formula One and stuff like that, right? Like, but it's not like huge, okay? That I'm noticing here, right? Yeah, I still get force feedback, but yeah. So it's this right here is basically computer thing, right? And I don't really like having computers so much, so I always leave that up. But I don't. But I think what it does, it makes it a little easier. You don't have enough. You don't get a lot of pulling and stuff like that. So it kind of makes it a little bit better. And then maybe on the straight, it makes it a little heavier. But yeah, try it out, see what you feel, right? Like I said, if you're gonna play with three on this page right here, okay, I'll tell you right now, don't touch nonlinear, don't touch any of these things, okay, because those are all compensating. These settings are for people that need compensation because they turn the wheel too much or they rest their foot on the pedal too much, or something like that. Okay, so these three is always zero, and the same thing down here on these ones. Those will always be zero, in my opinion. You don't want to mess around with those, except for the dead zone on braking. If you have a habit of resting your foot on the brake, you're gonna want to set that off a bit. But for me, I don't, right? So now for here, like I said, this one here, if you're doing oval, that it's going to be okay as like that, I think. Okay, uh, reduce dampening, like I like that. Like I don't want too much computer, right? If you are going to use it, I wouldn't use too much. But like I said, ruthless racing, okay, where you can get setups from. I saw a video where he set all these all at zero. Okay, now this one here, I don't think you want to raise it too much. If you do, okay, you might raise it a bit. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. Okay, but this one here will give you more of a differentiate, right? I think it's okay to have it down at zero on an oval, but I don't think it's good. I'll have to try. I'll have to go to a road course and see if I'm right about that. But on a road course, I think it'll be really tough to take hairpins if I put that up, right? But like I said, these would be the ones you want to play with to your preference, right? Right. That's how I kind of like what I like it at, right? I'll even jack that up sometime, right? Because what it does is the higher the number on this, the more differentiating force from a low speed corner to a high speed corner. This is like turning, right? On a high speed corner and a low speed turner, right? So if you raise it up, I think what happens is you're going to have to turn a lot more in a slow speed turn, right? Or a hairpin type corner, right? Anything you're not carrying a lot of speed in, right? So you have to turn the wheel more. And it is how that would work, right? But those would be the ones I play with, right? And then, yeah, and then that's the steering thing. It's this leveling one I really don't know about. Okay, I left that one. So I think 70 is good for me. But like I said, play with that one and maybe that one if you're not getting enough on your particular base, right? Or it depends on how strong your base is too, right? Because I always find setting your base at max, you know what I mean? Like the force, set it at max, and then use the in-game one to adjust how much you want to feel, right? Because then it'll help stop with clipping and stuff like that. And then, yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna lower this one, and I'm just doing it just so I can see what it does. But I think I've done it before, and oh yeah, so yeah, if I lower that, it almost feels like I'm not getting any, like there's no force. Like I'm feeling little kinks and pit, but I'm not really getting any force in the wheel. So let me get out of the turn here. It's really easy to turn the wheel though. You don't want force, right? It just so I guess what it's doing is it just kind of levels it. You know what I mean? I think at zero it levels the force, but it's not very strong. It doesn't have as much force. So I would recommend probably going between 75 and 100 on that. Let's see how 75 works out. Like if you don't like a lot of yeah, if you don't like a lot of pulling and stuff like that, lower that down. Like you know how not this one, sorry, wrong one. This one right here. If you don't like a lot of pulling back and forth, like you know how sometimes it feels like the wheels rocking back and forth, because that's how they set this force feedback up on this game. If you don't like that feeling of back and forth pulling, lower this down and it'll take it all away. Okay. But if you want feel and you want some pulling and stuff in the wheel, raise this. Right. I honestly, I would go between probably 80 and 100. Right. But if you want to know what that's doing, it's basically getting the feel. Okay. And it's just totally evening it out so that everything almost feels the same. So if you go down to zero, everything's going to kind of feel the same. There's not going to be a lot of differentiating in different turns and stuff like that if you do, right? So yeah, I think 80 is probably a good place to go with that, right? And yeah, I don't think there's much really difference to change. Okay, I'm kind of disappointed. I was kind of hoping they might have added true force into it, but they haven't. And I'm noticing they haven't even added the RPMs. Like I can't even on your base or on your wheel, you have RPM lights. Well, it doesn't do it still on this one. I remember it didn't do it on the other one. And it was a lot of people with especially Logitech wheels that don't get the RPMs that show up on the thing, right? And I'm just looking at mine right now. Uh, RPM location both. So RPM mode, left to right. Okay. Yeah, so it's on, but it just doesn't work. This game just doesn't want to do it, and that's just the game, though. Right? And then my damper 20. I already told you guys that. My force feedback filter is 8, but you can play with that. That's on my base. Okay. There's no TF audio, and then like I said, I set my base to full, which is 11 on my wheel because it's the pro. But if you got like the RS50, like Chris has, uh, you're probably going to set it at 8 and then adjust this feedback and maybe so if you're on an RS50, which is a little bit weaker wheel, you might want to do like 80 and 3 maybe. I don't know. I'd have to feel it to know, right? This is strong enough for me without being too strong. Then it's gonna kill me at the end of the race. You know what I mean? Uh, but yeah, I'm still not impressed by this game. I really ain't. I don't think it's that great of a game. The physics is pretty cheap and cheesy. I don't know how else to explain it, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's you don't get much of a sense for grip in this game, I find. Like you just kind of got to feel it, like the way it feels through the wheel and whatnot. But I think they could really do good by adding true force to it or real force if you're a fan of tech. But like I said, they haven't. So there you go. Check that out. I'm just gonna go around after I just show those to you, right? If you're gonna play with something, play with these three. Get them to your thing. I've already told you what they do, so you know what I mean. This is when you go like this. Okay, that's the computer max smoothing out your steering wheel for you. Okay, so it'll be nice and smooth. You won't get a lot of little bump me feelings and stuff like that. It's a lot of smoothing added to it. That kind of like that braking thing they have, smoothing, which I turned off. So if you turn it to 100, you're basically getting very little smoothing or none at all, right? Which I like. Okay, but and I told you what that one does, so you can adjust that how you want. I think if you're doing a road course, you're definitely going to want to leave this up at 85, and I'm going to test that out for you. But I think on oval, you're okay to go to zero, right? And if you're more comfortable putting that at zero, it's not gonna like make huge difference. It's just gonna kind of take some feel away, okay? So yeah. So that's that. If you have a question, anybody that's watching, ask now while I'm doing this because I never go on this game. I'm only doing this because a bunch of people asked me had the settings changed, right? And I hadn't been on in like 3, 4 months since the game came out, so I wasn't really able to answer. I would say I assumed that they would be, but honestly, they're not. It looks like it's pretty much the same as what it was before, right? And so here, look at these ones. All right. Play with those three. Everything else, make sure you do like that. So that's that, right? Depending on your base, you might want to adjust that higher or lower. Same with that one. FF leveling, I think you definitely want to have that higher than you do want lower. But get on the game. You know what? Crank it right up and you'll feel what I mean. It's like you get more differentiating fields in different corners and stuff like that by having this up higher. If you go to zero, you don't get any difference in the field. It just kind of feels dead and not a lot of force. Okay. And yeah, so there you go. That's what I have. Okay. But like I said, it'll these two especially, okay. Force feedback and overdrive, depending on how strong your base is, you might want to raise those or lower them, right? If you're a strong base, you're probably going to lower them. If you got a weaker base than 11 Newton meters like me, you might click that one up to 80, maybe 85, but you want to be careful you don't go too high with it or you get clipping. And that's just torque, the strength basically, right? So, and I'd be careful with that one because that one will really, if you go too high on it, it's going to kill you by the end of the race, right? I find two is good enough for me, right? So I'm gonna get out of this, and I'm just gonna go end practice. I'm gonna go to
As the session comes to a close, let's take a look at the
a
results.
road course here, okay? I'm gonna just get out of this, and no, I don't. Can't I just no? There you go. Leave track. Okay. Sorry, I haven't done this for a while, right? But yeah, it doesn't really like honestly from the last time I played. They still don't have the RPMs. They still haven't added True Force, and it really doesn't feel any different than it was before. But I'm gonna go to Watkins Glen here because it's a road course, right? And I kind of know this track, so. But like I said, I'm just gonna use a default setup, which can also change the feel in your wheel. Okay, so I might change a little bit in the force feedback if I were using setup, depending on how it feels, right? Because you're probably going to get a better feel if you get a nice setup into your car. So, you know, once you get set up, but I don't have time to put all setups in and test it out like that. I still think those settings are pretty close to what you're going to use even with setups. Uh, so yeah, here we go. Let's check
Let's
it
rock
out.
and roll. See what this hot rod can do.
Let's see what this hot rod can do. All right.
Take your time out there and let the car come to you. On your toes now.
Let me see. Did I change something there? Because that feels really, really responsive. But maybe that's my angle on my base. But it feels really responsive here, so it really like reacts quickly.
You can't cut the corner there, bud.
Oh, great. So I'm just looking at my wheel and matching it to that one. Yeah, it's really light feeling. But it's light. I don't like it. Something changed here. Yeah, it feels so light. You know what I mean? And then under braking, I get forced. Yeah, it's too easy to turn the wheel on a road course here. All right.
Careful cutting those corners.
Yeah, I know, bud. I'm not used to a NASCAR. I don't know where my braking points are on these cars. I'd have to do a couple laps to find out. But yeah, it's feeling really, really too light on some of the corners. So I think I'm gonna try this. Go to maybe. I got a pad. My cam just adjusting it. But I think I'm gonna try. So I'm gonna lower this one and see if that makes it a little better on the road course. So maybe. See. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I gotta remember these cars don't have the greatest of brakes. Yeah, it's pretty light. Maybe this is.
How's the car feel?
You probably want to set up for
All
this
right, let's make
track,
these
but
laps count, nice and clean. Stay on the blend line now.
I'm used to being able to have to throttle into that. Seems a little sensitive. Spring package, maybe. Not very good for riding the curb. I don't really know what. Yeah, I don't like this game.
Left side. Clear left.
Yeah, I don't like the feeling on this game at all. Shit, missed that one. Wasn't paying attention.
Don't exceed track limits. Stay disciplined.
Let me, yeah, it doesn't really, like, let's see if I reduce that if it feels good, right? Because, like I said, there was a guy that ran it like this, and I didn't think it was right, but this game is strange. Oh, let me check it out.
Left side. Clear left.
Yeah, you already feel the curves, I think. Don't want to hit that curb. I'm just trying to get some laps on them. I tried so many different types of racing. Takes me a while to get used to the type of car I'm driving here. These are like boats. But yeah, I don't like how easy the wheel moves in a straight line like that. Very floaty feeling, these cars. I missed that. I was too concerned about this car. Of course he's gonna get in my way.
Clear right.
These cars just don't turn, eh? Maybe because I don't know how to set up, but wow.
Try to coast a little if you can. Save us some fuel.
Holy shit, this car doesn't burn. God, these cars, guys.
Try to save some fuel if you can.
Yeah, these cars feel like they float. I already feel it. Yeah, I hate this shit.
You're low on fuel.
Settings. So, like, it's not too bad, okay, if you go to 0-0. Like, this is the, hey, you probably on a road course for the curbs, you probably might want to actually put this one down, right? But you can also do that on your base, right? But uh, yeah, it's a strange game, man. I don't like the feel to this game at all. I really don't think a next generation NASCAR feels like this. Maybe back in the 80s they felt like this, but but yeah. Uh, Save, okay, return the garage.
How you doing in there?
Yeah, I'm not impressed by this game, okay? But yeah, people just keep watching, not watching. It keeps popping up in my gear shifter part there. Uh, so yeah, let's do this. Let's see.
Don't hold back now, driver. You're clear out.
It just feels that. Oh wow! Weird feeling that was. See if they had 3/4 audio. I'd be able to feel the curves a little better. What the? God, do these cars not go over curbs? Yeah, that is so weird. You have no feel over the curb, but yet it pulls and stuff. It's kind of a weird. Problem with that bus stop there. Scared to touch the curbs on this game. Missed that.
Left side. Clear left.
Guy's gonna get in my way here.
Right side. Clear right.
handle like shit.
Amazing lap driving.
Oh, that's stupid how this car. Let me adjust something. Yeah, I don't like this game. I really don't. But I'm just trying to help people out to get it set up the best I can. Right? Like these settings here, you can play with these. Okay, yeah, play with those ones. I think, and that will, depending on what you like to feel, right? But yeah, I don't know what to say. It's a weird feel in this game for me because there's no true force to it, right? So I don't can't feel the vibration from the curbs. So it's a little different for me, right? Because I'm used to feeling that. Yeah, I feel it in Formula One and GT7. I feel it in Project Race Car. Yeah, in my opinion, every game is better sim than this game is. I racing my ass. It's garbage, but yeah, that definitely needs a lot of work. These cars don't feel very good. Right? But you can play with these, right? Like I did these down to zero, and it's not that bad, right? I think if you increase them, you're increasing feel, more or less. But it's not like huge or anything, right? So it might benefit you to put them at zero, and you get whoa. Yeah, the curves are crazy on this game. I play the same track on GT7 and way nicer in that game. Yeah, it's like a floating back and forth. This is like an old
Try to save some
school
fuel if you
type
can.
feedback. Look at that. It shoots my car straight when I run over the curves. You gotta cut those. That's weird, yeah. Anyways, yeah, those settings are gonna be about the best you can get on this game. really, honestly. But this game is like, honestly, I know it's popular with Americans, but what a garbage game when it comes to feel. Like, it's just totally unrealistic. Like, yeah, I don't know why people like this game, but okay. Garage.
How you doing in there? Need any adjustments?
But yeah, that's the best I can get. I don't think the game's changed really all that much since I first did it. So, but yeah,
All right, nice and smooth here. Let's see what this thing can do.
trying to get that car this time, right? I would think I could get it easy, but this car is just like explodes. I'm constantly counter steering. Like, it's so. Nope. Okay, they're understeering it.
Left side. Clear all around. Left side. Clear left.
Yeah, this is the way the feedback is in this game is just goes.
Left side. Clear left. Right side. Fast left, fast left.
There we go.
What do you think? You want to bring her in?
I just want to do that. Yeah, I want to bring it in. I hate this game. Anyways, that's it, guys. That's the best that I can do. Like I said, I'll show you it really quick there. I tested it out, but I don't like the game. Okay, I honestly don't. I think it's one of the worst feedback ones. You can change this one, right? If you go up, it makes it less sensitive, I think, with that one, right? But I think between 55 and 60 is the best place to be on that, right? And yeah, adjust the overdrive and force feedback depending on your base, right? On the strength of your base, right? Mine's at 11 Newton meters, and I set my base at full, so that works out good there. And yeah, like I said, play with these three right here, right? Maybe not so much that one. Speed sensitive range, actually. Actually, you know what? Actually, that might actually. Let's see if I raise this up. If it doesn't make the wheel so. Let's put it at 50 and just see. Just doesn't want to turn in that corner, eh? Oh wow, man. Okay, yeah, I don't think it really makes a difference. Yeah, play with these three. These would be the three that I play with on that page, right? Everything else is 0. 100 for rate, 100 for rate. Everything else 0. Okay, there you go. My base settings, full on my base. 8 or 9 for filter, your force feedback filter. Your damper probably around 20ish, right? What else is there? What else do you got on your base? Strength, TF audio, don't have it. Angle, you want to go to about 360, depending on the side of the wheel. You got a really big wheel, you probably want to go a little lower with the turning angle on your base. And yeah, that's about it. But as for your answer from have the settings changed much? Not really. I don't notice really that much. I think this game is garbage in my opinion. That's why I didn't play it for such a long time. It just got a really, you know, old school feel to it. It's not, up to dated force feedback like you would get in games like Gran Turismo. Like even like Project Race Car is way better than this. Even Red Sport would probably be better than this. Right? Yeah, this is probably the worst, one of the worst games. I think I've driven. It just, yeah, it could really use True Force. That's for sure. Right? What was I doing? Yeah, let me see. So, yeah, there you guys go. Killed that a whole bunch of times. But answer to Chris' question, not much has really changed, right? If you want, send me something. Send me some message if there's anything you need to know about. But like I said, this game is pretty basic, and it feels like I'm driving a Cadillac, like a 1970s Cadillac at times. Especially on the road courses. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a poorly designed game. Anyways, guys, I hope that helped out. But like I said, this is not really the game for me. It's, yeah, especially the road course. Yeah, that's horrible how these cars handle. I don't think in real life they handle that bad. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that if you have any questions, just leave a message and I'll try to answer it on what each thing means. And yeah, but like I said, I don't really like this game. I think it's kind of garbage. All right. So, yeah, have a good one, guys. Take it easy.